This is the Authority Company Podcast, conversations with leaders who are building the future. Hola, I'm Joe Pardavila, and today I'm spending some time with Haley Barber, founder of RDV NINES. Haley splits her time between life as an entrepreneur and working for one of the biggest retail brands on the planet. What started as Haley's personal struggle with acne and sensitive skin turned into a patented redesign of one of the world's most overlooked accessories, the baseball hat. Our chat explores product innovation, personal frustration as creative fuel, and what it really takes to bring a completely new idea to market while balancing life inside corporate America. Haley Barber, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. And so I got to start with a really hard question. I don't usually like to start with hard questions, but yours is your life is pretty fascinating because you have this really cushy corporate job with Walmart, and you decide to become an entrepreneur. Which most people, when they reach that sort of like level in their life where they're comfortable, like comfortable is a big thing for all of us, right? We all want to feel comfortable. You have that, but then you're like, no, I don't like this. I want to be an entrepreneur too, on top of the job I have as daytime job. Tell me about that jump, because I'm sure it's not easy for a lot of people to try to do that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not easy. I'm not gonna lie and say, okay, yeah, no, it's great. It's a lot of work. And I think the thing about me is, yes, corporate life is great, but I'm always wanting the next thing. In my heart, I have always been an entrepreneur. And I think even with my corporate job now, it is so much about innovation, testing, learning, how do we drive more GMV? How do we bring in the next customer, which is fantastic. But I'm like, okay, now I want to do that for myself and my own passions, and my own kind of product that I created to solve this problem that I had in my life. There's always a problem to be solved.
That's right. Yeah, I call it the entrepreneur's conundrum. Find a problem, fix a problem. The problem was you were struggling with acne caused by wearing hats, which I'll be honest with you, I was not aware this was a problem. So if you don't mind getting personal, how
Yeah.
long has this been a problem? Was it one of those things where it was a problem where you were just kind of like getting by, and then one day you had that sort of Oprah aha moment? First of all, explain why this happens. Why is acne caused by hats?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at the inside of your hat and you just see how gross that fabric is, it's kind of like, oh, okay, now I understand, why I'm having these skin issues and maybe why my hairline is itchy. Um, but it's so funny that it's not something people talk about more. But what I've learned is that washing hats, people wash hats, but they ruin their hats from washing them, which was the
Right.
experience that I had. The shape doesn't stay the same, the fabric is weird. And so I was spending so much time. I would wear a hat, run around the park, I'd be out at brunch, protecting my skin from the sun, which great. But then I'm also breaking out because of the dirty fabric resting against my forehead. So I tried hacky solves, like I tried everything. I tried putting paper towels in the front of my hat. I tried putting a panty liner. I mean, yeah, that's a trend.
Wait, hold on. We cannot go further. Putting a panty liner on your head. Say what?
I literally just got a comment on Instagram with a guy saying, "Oh, I just steal my wife's panty liners." Yeah, it's a thing that people do. Yeah,
Okay. All right.
I
Oh,
know.
okay.
I know.
So you were trying to find all these ways, and obviously it wasn't working, especially the panty liner. I'm sure just because of the
No.
awkwardness of it. But so then, so you say you had that itch, that entrepreneurial itch. When did you finally say, I got to scratch that itch and I got to come up with a hat that will actually solve for this problem?
Honestly, I have ruined probably 10-ish hats in the washing machine. I mean, I couldn't wear them again. Hand washing, I was using a toothbrush with
Oh,
so and then
geez.
it was too much. And then I was like, I have to find something. So go online. I start looking for hats with removable washable liners and I could not find anything. I found more disposable liner options, but I'm like, no, no, no. I want something with healthy fabric that's going to be touching my forehead. And there was nothing. Nothing
Wow.
existed. But I knew the problem existed because of the noise on social. I went out to literally all my friends and family and I asked them, I'm like, what do you do about dirty hats? Oh, I just ruin them in the washing machine and I buy a new one. Like
Right.
that's what I heard from everyone. And so I remember I was sitting outside with friends and we're chatting about it. And then something just clicked. And I was like, I'm going to make it. You know what? I'm tired of this problem. I want a solution now. Let's do it now. So, yeah, that's when I decided.
All right, so we may need to go back a little bit. Is there any textile fabric experience in your background? Is there anything in your family that would lend you to believe that you could do this? Not that I will expect you to doubt yourself, but like, was there
Yeah.
anything in your background that said, "Huh, you know what? I once did this, so I could do this."
Okay. So I had a short stint in fashion wholesale, which,
Okay.
mind you, I had no experience in textile, in material, nothing.
Okay.
But I did have, and this is the great thing I think about living in New York. I mean, and anywhere if you're just open to making connection. But my sister had a friend who had a clothing line in the Lower East Side, and I thought to myself, I'm like, "You know what? That's a good place to start." So, I reached out to her, I told her about my idea. Mind you, I had no idea how this would come together, and I was like, "Is this something that you would wanna work on with me?" She had gone to fashion school, she had created her own fashion line, and so I believe outsourcing is one of the greatest things that you can do, and so, yeah, I partnered with her, worked with her on a contract basis, and she helped me basically create the first version of this hat.
And so what were you doing? What did you find that eliminated the issue of, like, destroying hats, making it unwashable? What was that hack? And maybe proprietary, so you probably can't talk about it too detail, but what is it about what you're doing, pr sort of undoing all of those years of people ruining hats?
Yeah. Well, I think just it was nailing, the fact that washing a hat, it is going to ruin the shape. And so it was figuring out, at least for me and the stage of the product right now, how do I make sure that the fabric that's touching the person's head is clean fabric? And right now that's, the problem that this hat solves. So there's actually a removable washable liner inside the hat. This is a whole other story of basically the components and the layers of this liner, because it had to be comfortable enough where you're not feeling it snaps in and out, so not feeling the snaps, not too thick to look bulky, but also absorbing sweat, and then making sure, again, what's touching your forehead is organic, clean fabric that's not just gonna cause further irritation like these disposable options do.
Okay, so explain how your hat works, because if you're listening to this, you can't see it. It looks like you're wearing one of those, or RDV Nines hats. But
Yes.
explain what happens inside when someone buys this product. Like, what? 'Cause I think we all know what a baseball hat looks like, so I don't need to describe
Yep.
what a baseball. But tell me exactly what's going on with the hat that is letting you do this removable thing where you could take it off and wash it.
Yeah. So you'll get the hat, and inside of the hat, you'll see this liner. It's clear that it's kind of a separate part of this hat function. And what you do is you simply take kind of the edge of the liner and you pull it out of the hat. It's super easy. I think there's 7 or 8 snaps. You pull the liner out of the hat. I think the great thing about this hat is we did a liner wash bag. So it's all really thoughtful. You take the liner, you can put that liner inside of the wash bag, throw that piece inside the washing machine, take it out. You actually snap the liner onto the bag to air dry. And then once it's dry, you put that clean liner, you simply snap it back inside of the hat, put it back on your head, go about your day.
You made that sound so easy. I'm sure it took a little longer for you to figure that out,
Yeah.
didn't it?
Yeah, well, and it's funny you say that because this was something that hadn't existed, within a hat before, but we actually took it a step further, and we added grommets on the inside liner. So the existing liner of the hat are grommets, and then again, you can't see this,
Yeah.
all of them are customizable. So
Wow.
yeah, so it's like a toggle system on the ends, so all of the chains, the cords, all of those are removable, so it's kind of it's like the last hat you'll ever need, you'll ever want, because it's always clean and it's always customizable, is like our bigger picture. Yeah.
That's excellent. All right, so let's talk timelines here. From you deciding to meet your partner who you co-opted and brought them in to create the prototype. How long from that moment to actually going to e-com and selling it?
Yeah. So with this first version, honestly, the R&D on this product was almost 2 years.
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah, it was a long time because we had to create a net new pattern for the hat. Also the grommet placement, figuring out the liner components. I mean, it was a lot of sampling back and forth. I then also was simultaneously working on the patent, which I did
Just
get a
gonna ask you
patent.
about that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, we should talk about that." No, because it's a big accomplishment. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't when I went into well, sorry, my ADHD is taking over. I'll finish
No,
about,
it's okay.
the previous so, then, basically what happened, I was working with this designer and actually the factory that she worked with on her clothing line, and unfortunately, when all was said and done, the landed price on the hat was just too high. And this was when there was all of the debacle with the tariffs, and
Oh,
there was just no way that we
what was
could
the
make it.
number? What was it costing you to make, and what would you have sold it at if it was that?
The landed price was $20. Yeah,
Okay.
and so I think the landed price was $20, but just in terms of scale, and wanting to go into the wholesale market, it was
Yeah.
impossible. I mean, wholesalers on accessories, they want 4x,
Right.
on a hat, and so it was just for what and I think that's the Walmart in me is that I wanted to create an accessible product, right? Like, I don't wanna sell a $250 hat. Like, that's
Right.
just not what I'm trying to do. And so from that moment, I actually took a step back and it was like, okay, I think I need to pursue a different path forward with a different factory. And that meant starting over. And so, yeah, starting the sampling
Wow.
process over. Thankfully, we had, I had a great starting point with the hat, but I think, you know what? Everything happens for a reason. I started working with a different designer that I met in New York, and we took the hat from something that was great to something that is amazing and just honestly made it even better. And so it was like the longest test learn optimize of my life. But from the very beginning to when we started selling, to answer your question,
Yeah.
it was about 3 years.
Okay. Now I need to ask because you mentioned how you kinda had to semi start over. What did you find in that second go round that fixed your price point issue? What was that thing that was the big hold up the first time around?
Yeah, I think it was just a different type of relationship with a factory. I started working with an agency in New York, and they're really, really wonderful at negotiating prices.
Okay.
They're really good at sourcing. I think it's when you partner with an agency that you can get prices down, and still get really high quality product. Because it's like their goal is to make money, your goal is to make
Yeah.
money, and they do per piece. So it's a really, really great relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Alright, so let's go back to the patent thing because, as you were describing it, I'm thinking I'm like, I hope this girl got a patent here because this sounds like it's pretty sounds like it's pretty groundbreaking. I don't think it's something that's out there. So tell me, well, first of all, how hard is that? Because I think we always hear about patents in the news, and then whether it's always usually because it's like some sort of infringement case we're hearing about after the fact. But
Mhm.
tell me about how you did it. Like, you Googled how to patent my hat? Is that where you
No,
start?
literally. No,
Yeah.
literally. I don't remember if it was Google or ChatGPT, but
Okay.
I basically was like, "How do I patent a product?" And I mean, listen, there's so many resources. I think there were too many steps for me to say, this is something I can tackle. I thought right away, I need to get in contact with an IP lawyer who can help me break this down, understand it. So, yeah, my next step was IP lawyer, and I found my lawyer through his blog. and
As one
he is
does. I think everyone finds their lawyer through a blog.
no,
Everybody does that.
totally. Well, and do you know what I loved about it is because he didn't say, like, "How to get a trademark for dummies" was not the title of the blog, but the way that he was able to articulate how the steps of getting a trademark within his I was like, "I am going to work well with this person."
Wow.
I immediately understood, yeah, the value of a blog. And so I reached out to him, and his first question was, "Did you find me through my blog?" And I was like, "Yes, I did." And I told him about my idea. The only thing that I had at that point was the tech pack. And so I sent him the tech pack and
And what is that?
he
Just for the folks not familiar. What is a tech
oh yeah.
pack?
It basically is like a blueprint for your hat
Okay.
that you send to the factory and then they
Okay.
follow it's all the measurements, it's the fabric, it's placement, and so they can basically build the sample from that tech pack.
Okay.
So I sent this to my lawyer and he looked through. It's like, "Listen, I think this is a great idea. What we do now, basically see, does this exist? If it does exist, in what capacity does it exist within a patent?" And so you go through that process. And then he decided that we should file for, so there's two types. There's a design patent and a utility patent. We applied for both. Our design patent got rejected because there were already some hats out there that had like pin stuff on the hat and they're like
Yeah.
it's too close to kind of what you're doing. But thankfully the utility patent got pushed forward and it was officially a patent. I think it was, I wanna say February of this year.
Wow.
I finally got, yeah, my patent number, but let me tell you, it was a process. It is
Yes.
not for the faint of heart.
I've heard that. And tell me about what a utility patent means again. I'm sorry for these kind of because I'm just curious because I get the idea of multiple patents. What does a utility patent mean?
Yeah, so the utility patent is literally how it's built. So design
Okay.
is how the product looks. The utility is kind of, for me at least, I guess, under the hood, under the hat, and what
Understood.
that system looks like.
So to be like devil's advocate, someone could make a ripoff of your hat as long as it doesn't have that the underworld the undercarriage, so to speak, of how it snaps into place and holds there, right?
So the patent for my hat, it is twofold. It's
Okay.
the collaboration of the grommets and the liner. So if it was just the liner, I couldn't get the patent because things like that, and it's not
Existed.
so much the snap, yeah, but it's just a hat liner has been patented before. It's totally different, but it's not anything crazy new. In terms of them going and making a similar version, I mean, it's gonna happen. My lawyer was like, "Listen," he's like, you've made it when they start copying you." So, I mean, yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. The sincerest form of flattery, as they say.
Exactly.
And I think the hardest thing for a lot of entrepreneurs, and this is actually for like musicians and artists, the name RDV Nines. I will say that does not roll off the tongue, so I don't think you have to worry about ripping off the name of the company. But tell me what RDV Nines, how you came to that, and what it stands for.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest pillars with this hat and something I love about it is the modes of the hat. Like I can take this hat and I can go from a run in the park and then I can throw a cord and a chain on it and I can go to brunch with my friends. And so that to me was something that I really loved. And so RDV is short for rendezvous, which is the French word for outing, let's go, let's get together. And so that's RDV. Nines, that's a longer story of how that stuck. Basically, I had a name before this name that didn't pass trademark, which, yeah, no time. Get your name trademarked very early on. This is one of my biggest takeaways. And nines was taken from three nines fine, which is what jewelers back in the day used to call kind of pure silver. And so that was just a nod to the charms that we have, the hat charms.
Okay.
So kind of combining the modes, the jewelry, and bringing it all together.
Excellent. And so tell me how in terms of like falling on it and deciding that? You said it was like 3+ years to actually do that. How about the name? Was that basically 3 years too?
No. Well, so I had a name. I had a name so much so that this name was embroidered on hats already. Yeah,
Oh no.
thankfully not a lot of them. Um, but we yeah, like I said, the last name, it didn't get approved through trademark, which that process can be a long time. So I'm
Sure.
like, "Oh, let's go for it. Let's do it." And so I honestly, before launch, I placed the order 60 days, before it was delivered to New York. I think I delivered the logo to them to be embroidered a day before they started before they started on the order, and having to come up with a new name, I mean, I used every AI platform known to mankind. I locked myself in my apartment for an entire day, and I was like, you're doing this." And I just had a list of names that I was going on the trademark website, and I was just checking against all of these names. So anyways, it was, let's say, a labor of love, but definitely not how I would do it moving forward if I were to start something else.
Lesson learned. And we should talk about the style of the hat in terms of I don't take it the wrong way, but the plainness of it. Like, and
Mhm.
I know there's studies that I think Gen Z like hates logos, so that's why you're seeing a lot of like brands like if they have a logo, it's like a tiny little thing. Like young people just don't want to see logos, and obviously, you're not going for a logo look. But tell me about the simplicity of the RDV Nines hat.
Yeah. So I think that for me was something that I'm not a logo person. Like, just let me wear, blank this, blank that. I want it to look high quality, and it will be
Mhm.
high quality. I think for me, so we have the logos on all the hats, they're dye to match embroidery. I think for me, I really wanted the customization element to stand out. So the cords, the chains that we just launched, the charms that we also just launched to be able to stand out kind of in a new way. Will we go into logos moving forward? Maybe, but I think also just having like this fundamental kind of collection, just being clean. It's also a brand that it's clean by nature. And so I think for me, it was keeping it fresh looking, clean looking. It kind of all ties together nicely.
Oh, sweet. So the old adage of the movie, if you build it, they will come. At the end of the day, after this 3.5 year ordeal of bringing RDV nines to the masses, will people buy it? Was there anything that kept you up at night after everything you'd been through that you're like, man, after all this, is anybody gonna want a hat like this? What was that like? And did the people come once you went to market?
Yeah. So it's so interesting because, well, first off, I'm completely delusional. I'm like, how could you not want to how could you not want this hat? No, but it's also, I did a ton of kind of research, quant research ahead of time just to understand like, okay, I know that this is a problem for me, this is a problem for other people. In terms of introducing a brand new product into market, it's been such an interesting learning because it's never been done before. And so I think once you properly learn how to drive this problem home of dirty hats, and a lot of people, especially women, have been living with this problem because of makeup and just how it's so visible right here on the liner. And so that's been a huge learning of like, how do I properly express this issue with people and really, driving home how gross it is. And it's like we wash everything that touches our skin outside of our hats. And so I think that, that narrative, it's been fun to learn how to navigate that. In terms of purchasing, yeah, I think I thankfully have seen people purchasing. When I first launched, I was like, I need to get face to face with customers. So I actually went to a flea market that's in Williamsburg and I set up a booth and I just started talking to people. And every person, oh my God, yes, this is why I don't wear hats anymore. This is why I struggle with acne. I wash my hats and I ruin them. And so I think like that was really validating. But yeah, introducing a new product to market is not easy. Thankfully, it is a huge issue, and so people have been responding by purchasing, which is great.
That's so cool. All right, so lastly, I gotta ask because multiple designers, lawyers, trademark, patent. I'm not an entrepreneur, but man, Haley, that sounds really freaking expensive.
Yeah.
Uh, how did you fundraise? Is it family money? Is it investors? You don't have to go into like you don't have to give me a spreadsheet or anything here, but like this sounds like a very expensive proposition.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was expensive. I thankfully, through my corporate job, I had savings, and then I have, stock, which I was able to sell off and put towards hats, which was really, really great. My parents are extremely supportive, and so I would not be here without them. So yeah, a combination of those 3 things.
How tough is that? Because I think for the entrepreneur, I think you see this a lot, like, the best entrepreneurs don't spend their own money. It's like, we hear of Hollywood movie stars when they say, "I'm gonna produce this movie, but I'm not gonna spend a dime of it. I'm gonna bring people in." And a
Mhm.
lot of entrepreneurs, they would be like, "Hey, I'm not gonna do this if I'm putting all my money in. If I'm gonna get some rich guy who who wants to, be some sort of, angel investor into this company." Was there any doubt in your mind where you're like, "Nah, you know what? I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna sell my stock, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes. I'm gonna ask mom and dad for my early inheritance." Was there any hesitation in doing that?
So, yeah, I mean, if you get to a tipping point where, I'm not I the well is not endless. And so you get to a point where, especially having to start over, I think with the new samples, with the new like, that was a really pivotal moment. And I had people, I think contacts at VCs and friends of friends who are in the space who actually said, I wanna invest. I think the thing is that when you take investor dollars at this stage, the equity that you're having to give up is extremely
A lot.
substantial.
Yeah.
And it's just not like, this is my baby, and it's just not something that, I was willing to do. My mind immediately went to, "Okay, I'm gonna take out a business loan, a small business loan. I'm going to search out resources, for women in business and, through the state, and, like, how can I tap into that?" And so I think that's the direction that I went in versus losing a bunch of equity. Um but yeah, it's definitely something that, I'm sure there's pros on that side as well as there's pros on the side that I'm on as well. But yeah, I mean, I've literally put all of my money towards this. But when I do something, I'm a very extreme person, which like my
Yeah.
therapist would not. she she's tr- she's like, I'm trying to find a balance, but I am full sending. Like, I'm like, "If I'm gonna do this, I'm doing it. I'm gonna do it all the way. Life is short, like, I believe in it, and, that's kind of the mindset that I'm in. Again, delusional, but it's
No, I
gonna
love
work."
it. I love it. It's inspiring. And so for folks, if they are having the same issue, or even don't even because the one thing that we've missed on is like, sure, you're solving a problem, but it's still a fashion accessory. So if you don't have an
Mhm.
issue with a acne forehead or what have you, it's
Yeah.
still a great hat to have. So how do people find them? How do they buy them? And what's the future? Is it like you're strictly ecom now, wholesale, stores, retail? Tell us what the present is and what you hope the future to be.
Yeah, so you can explore the hats, shop the hats on rdv9s.com. They're also available across all my social. I'm tapped into TikTok Shop, Instagram Shop, and so you can purchase directly via those platforms as well. In terms of the future, yes, wholesale. The customization element is really, really exciting for retailers because we can do custom charms, we can do custom cords, custom colorways. And so that's really exciting, especially in the hospitality industry. So I think that's a big space. And then in terms of kind of product evolution, I think within this problem and solving this problem, there's a lot of directions, that I've not a lot, but there's one specific direction that I won't speak to that
Okay.
I'm looking to go towards. And that's honestly just learnings from launch and how can I kind of reach more of the masses. Um, and so yeah, that's the future of RDV Nines for now.
It's good stuff. She is Haley Barber, the founder of RDV Nines. Haley, thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. This was great.
And that'll do it for this episode. If you want to find out more information about what we do at Advantage Media, go to theauthoritycompany.com.